When you enter the Sistine Chapel and look at the beautiful fresco in the ceiling, you surely do not think of maths. A beautiful sunflower invokes our appreciation for the Mother Nature but doesn't inspire us to think of geometry. When you look at a cute rabbit, stock market doesn't come to your mind. And yet, all of these seemingly unrelated fields are somehow related. The basis of this connection is a beautiful number. Today we are going to tell you the story of a number which has amazed not only mathematicians but creative people from all fields: art, painting, literature, biology, and countless others. It is often referred to as the golden number. While studying this number, researchers came across its far-reaching, astounding connections to various fields. Some people even asked this profound question: is God a mathematician? A word of caution before we start. The number golden ratio is very famous, but at the same time a bit controversial too. Some experts claim the hype around this to be overrated. We will explain the reason at the end of this video, so be sure to stick around. Also, the timestamp is given below in the description box, so if you want to skip to a particular section, feel free to do so. Okay, let's start the story. Like all famous concepts in the world, it is difficult to pinpoint exactly when this number was discovered. But a famous puzzle in the 12th century Europe definitely brought attention towards it. The mathematician was named Leonardo Fibonacci, and the puzzle was related to the breeding pattern of rabbits. The puzzle reads as follows. A certain man puts a pair of rabbits in an enclosed area. How many pair of rabbits can be produced in a year from that pair if it is supposed that every month each pair begets a new pair, which from the second month becomes productive? Let us try to understand this first. At the beginning we have one pair, and here we are representing a matured pair by the large bunny symbol. At the end of the first month we will have one large and one baby pair, and a baby pair is shown as a small bunny symbol. At the end of the second month we will have one new baby pair, and the earlier baby has now matured. So two matured pair, meaning total 3 pairs. If we continue, we will see at the end of each month we will have these many pairs: 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, and so on. It is evident that we get the next number simply by adding two previous numbers. The sequence became famous and is known as the Fibonacci sequence. At this point you may ask, all this is fine, but so what? Why so much hype about a sequence of rabbit numbers? Of course we wouldn't be discussing if it was just about rabbits. It turns out that it is about many other things in nature. Take for example a pineapple. You can see that there are spirals of scales on the skin of this fruit. If you take any spiral and count the total number of scales in it, you will find the number to be 8 or 13 or 21 or any other number in the Fibonacci sequence. Take a sunflower and look at the head of this flower. You will see beautiful spiral patterns in it, both clockwise and anti-clockwise. You may be surprised to know that most commonly there are 34 spirals in one direction and 55 in another. Both of them are consecutive Fibonacci numbers. Of course, the numbers can vary depending on the size of the flower, but usually there are numbers from this sequence. For example, 89 and 55, or 144 and 89, and so on. Scientists got more curious to find such patterns in other areas, and since then there was no stopping. Whether it is the petal arrangement of rose, or the leaf arrangement of pine or beech trees, or the pattern of a spiral shell of a snail, the presence of this sequence was found almost everywhere. At this point, you may be convinced that this sequence is not an ordinary one and is indeed something special about it. The logical next question was how to find the nth number in the sequence. Say we want to find the 100th number in this pattern. Of course, you can do it simply by adding two preceding numbers, but that means we will have to first find the 99 previous numbers. And that's a lot of work. Can we do it better? And here the story becomes a bit more curious. If we simply divide the consecutive numbers of these series, we will find that the ratio settles down to a fixed number. This number is approximately 1.618, and as with most of the beautiful numbers, this cannot be expressed completely in decimal notations. Since this is an important number, we gave it a representation, and that is the Greek letter phi. Having found this number, we can now quickly find the nth number using a neat formula, and you do not need to calculate the whole sequence. While this is all good, a more fundamental question bothers academicians. Why does nature exhibit instances of Fibonacci number and phi? Why should pineapple scales follow the same number sequence as pine cones as sunflower spiral counts? If you think about for a moment, it does seem pretty interesting and almost forces us to think of some hidden mysterious ways nature works. Many people are of the opinion that nature follows phi because it is the most harmonious and aesthetically important number. It is well known that one of the most important factors in creating any beautiful sculpture or building is to find the perfect proportion. So artists were always curious to know what is the most ideal proportion. Although many have worked on this concept, one artist or mathematician, depends on how you look at him, named Luca Pacioli in the 15th century Italy, wrote the most extensive treatise on this. He declared that phi is the divine proportion, and he gave 5 reasons for calling it so. We will not go into the details here, but it must be mentioned that this work had huge influence on various artists, including Leonardo da Vinci. Whether he actually used golden ratio in creating some of his masterpieces is a matter of intense debate, but it is well known that Leonardo himself was a mathematician of highest caliber, and he himself was obsessed with the perfect ratio of human bodies. The connection of phi to art was just the beginning. Soon people started finding link to this number of music, poetry, cosmology, and even to the Wall Street. For example, it is claimed by many researchers that most pleasing tunes are made when the musical intervals are related to the ratio phi. Of course, there are numerous claims and counterclaims on this topic, and it is not really straightforward to prove it. All this is still okay, but what can possibly this number phi has to do with the stock market? That sounds quite far-fetched, since it is neither natural nor artistic, but the truth is stranger. Ralph Nelson Eliott, an American accountant, analyzed stock market swings and theorized that stock market follows waves of up and down movement, and that number of such waves follow Fibonacci pattern. In fact, it is further developed into a complete principle named the Eliott wave principle. And some people even go one step further to use those in actual trading strategies. As you can see, we started with a simple puzzle of rabbit breeding, then found a connection to natural beauty, then saw how artists and musicians try to use the same concept, and finally saw a strange connection to the stock market movement also. Naturally, one question arises. Are these all proven, or is it just an overhyped concept? There is no easy answer to this, but it is true that many people try to claim the link of phi to various concepts without adequate proof. In the popular culture, this became even more well known after the 2006 movie Da Vinci Code. I personally think that although this number phi is very interesting and is intricately linked to many natural phenomena, we must be cautious in the approach and always rely on the exact proof. Whatever it is, there is no denying that golden ratio is one of those exquisite numbers which prove that maths is not just about numbers and that numbers are beautiful.